Good evening. Welcome to our 2012 School Board Debate. We're so thrilled that you're here or watching at home on TV. This debate is sponsored by our very good friends at Kissimmee Utility Authority. We appreciate KUA sponsorship. Valencia Community College gave us the facility for this evening, and we appreciate their help. And we appreciate Access Osceola for filming this and putting it on our local government access channel. And a big thank you to our co-presenting sponsor tonight, the Chamber's presenting, and the Osceola Classroom Teachers Association is presenting tonight, and we really appreciate their support. Well, we're going to get right into it with the candidates, and we're going to give them an opportunity for a 1-minute opening statement, and we will begin with Mr. Bonasco.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raul Bonasco. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a public administration's master's degree. I have been fortunate starting my career in public service with the juvenile justice system in New York and retired after 25 years running corrections in the state of Florida. In addition to that, I've had the opportunity to serve on several local boards. I chaired the Library Advisory Board for this county from 2006 to 2008. I'm the vice chair of the Toho Board, as well as I serve on the YMCA Board Teen Achievers Program. I'm very active in the community. Both my children, oldest children, are school teachers in this county and have a younger son and 2 grandchildren that attend the school system. That is Raul Bonasco, running for my family and yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonasco. Next up, we have John Ramirez.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Ramirez. I am a 22-year resident of Osceola County. I am actually a product of Osceola County Schools. I'm proud to say that I attended and graduated Valencia Gateway High School, and I also attended Valencia Community College when it was just a small campus right on the backside of Gateway High School, if any of you remember that. I have been a proud member of this community for 22 years, and in those 22 years, I have purchased a home here, I have raised my family here, I have opened a business here. I'm a 14-year experienced insurance agent. I opened my business 2 years ago here in Osceola County because I had a vested interest in this community. My children have attended school here. I have a child who's a special needs program. And also I have a brand new 6-year-old going into 1st grade. So that's a challenge in of itself. And because of those things, I have concerns about the quality of the education my children have. And I'd like to serve as your District 2 board member for Osceola County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramirez. Next up, Kelvin Soto.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out in this Thursday heat in the afternoon. It's very encouraging to see so many members of the community to come to one of these school board debates and hear from the candidates and to show that they're going to be involved and interested in public education. I will tell you that stepping onto this campus today reminded me when I first stepped onto San Diego City College over 18 years ago. And I remember walking into the admissions office and looking at the catalog, and a whole new world opened up before me, and I knew that my life would never be the same. Since that day, my journey has taken me through a bachelor's degree, a master's degree in public health epidemiology. I was a scientist after that. I did a lot of research with schools and public health for children. After that, I went to law school, University of California, Berkeley. I got my degree from Berkeley. Came to Central Florida, and since that time, I've been a local attorney here in Osceola County. And I believe in public education because it worked for me and because I understand that that is the greatest contract that the government has with its people, to educate its citizen and make a stronger republic.
Thank you very much for your opening statement. We really appreciate that. And we are going to move on to questions from our panel. Let me introduce our outstanding media panel. First up, from St. Cloud in the News, Chris Falkowski.
Good evening.
Next up, Brian McBride with the Osceola News-Gazette.
Hello.
And with El Osceola Star, Bill Hansen.
Hi.
We've got a great media panel, and we are going to lead off with Mr. McBride, and you have your question, and Mr. Ramirez will lead off.
Thank you. Hello, candidates. Recently in the media, the current school board has not been perceived in the most positive light with some infighting going on. What would you do to bring some stability to the board?
Mr. Ramirez.
It's very simple. Set the example. We have children that are watching us, and we tend to look like the children on the playground rather than being the adults that are supposed to lead them and set the example. I, for one, am a true believer in keeping things simple. Sometimes we tend to complicate things and make them a little bit more than what they should be. I think if we treat each other with a sense of civility first, and then try to listen to one another, I think at the end of the day, we can come to a conclusion for our children so that they can have a better education.
Next up, Mr. Soto.
Well, as a member of the school board, my focus is going to be on education and and the work that we have to do to not only use our budget smartly, but to continue to expand on some programs that are very important and bring technology into the classroom and provide teachers with new tools to teach and students a different way to learn, something that is going to go ahead and prepare our students in this current labor market, which we know is heavily focused on sophisticated technology. I think that once the school board is focused on those goals, and I mean it, and I mean the school board as a whole, as an entity, is focused on those goals, and we know that we're working towards those goals, and our time has to be dedicated towards those goals, which are directly related to the education of our children. I think the problem will solve itself at that moment. Right now, people work in whatever style they do, but as a group, you work to bring in your talents to work together and be effective.
Thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Bonasco.
Well, what I bring to the table is I've had the opportunity to be on several boards in this county. I have the approach of being respectful, first of all, professional, and coming to the table with a collaborative and compromising approach. It's okay to have our difference of opinion. I've done it many times on the Toho board, but yet we've always remained professional, respectful, and like we say every day, children will emulate what they see. And I've been to some of those meetings, and it concerns me because even my 7-year-old granddaughter sees it on TV and says, "Dad, Papa, that's not how people should act." So I think we have to bring that professionalism to the point of raising the bar to another standard, and that's also going to be a good repertoire for us as Osceola County School District.
Our next question is going to come from Ms. Falkowski.
Good evening, gentlemen. Each of you have indicated that you want the school district to be recognized for academic performance. And as a school board member, how would you help to attain that goal?
Mr. Soto.
What we want to do as a school board is to focus on the education of our children, first and foremost, and that is to use the money wisely and to identify those programs that we do have that we could strengthen and to bring in other programs that we learn about that will benefit the education of our children. Programs such as foreign language instruction for children in elementary and secondary schools, funding for art and music. These are subjects that stimulate the mind, that really bring in a love for learning and a love for and a curiosity for who we are as people and growing up and developing. When we put that together with using new techniques and technology for instruction, we're going to see those gains. They're just going to come naturally from the excitement, from the motivation of the teacher, the excitement of the student that is learning. And we will see that. We will see the results when we have these, when we see children graduated that are better prepared to go to college and for the workforce. Thank you.
Mr. Bonasco.
Well, I can tell you that technology is very important for this generation. But also, we need to refocus and look at those vocational opportunities. We know in society we still need mechanics and carpenters and drafters, and I think we need to get back to basics and look at really focusing on some other opportunities for our students, because at the end of the day, we have students who might not want to have a 4-year degree or college degree, but they do have an interest in a trade. And I think it's an opportunity to really gauge the performance of a student based on their atmosphere and their interests, and also allowing the teachers to have some real teaching time. I'm not a strong advocate of teaching to the test. I think we have really smothered teachers, their creativity, and I think we need to get back to giving them some latitude in performing their duties on a daily basis and enriching the minds of the next generation.
Mr. Ramirez.
Well, all of those things are important. Technology, facilities, et cetera, et cetera. But I think a quality education first starts at home. I remember growing up, from my house to the corner where I went to school, I was accountable by every single house that I passed by. It takes a village to raise a child, not one individual. And if any of you grew up in that state of mind, you understand what I'm talking about, okay? The next thing is teachers. We rank 33rd out of 50 states in teacher salary. We're $6,000 beneath the salary level. And I think one of the most important tools that we need is, number one, a high-quality education comes from a high-quality educator. And number two, we have to compensate those educators, because South Korea and China and all these other foreign countries cannot continue taking our best to train them and leave us here with nothing.
Our next question comes from Mr. Hanson.
Yes. If you are elected, what will be your first task or project? And try to keep it just, specifically you are sitting on your first board. What will you want to work? What will you want to change? What will be your first priority?
Mr. Benasco?
I think it's obvious. The first priority is to give the leadership of the district and the teachers, a permanent leader. I think at the end of the day, the person in place is an interim. We as a board need to come together, focus on what our expectations are, go ahead through a selection process, and more importantly, stand back and allow whoever is selected to have the latitude to serve the residents of this county, lead the school district in the direction we feel we chose to select that individual, without us trying to be a micromanaging board. And that's something that I've never been an advocate of, never have done it in any of my positions. If I wanted to be a school superintendent, I would have applied for that position, give them that latitude, and I think the teachers might understand that we're supporting them with some steady and supportive leadership.
Mr. Ramirez?
Find out what's going on with our money. When you hear that we're overspending $390,000 on construction projects and paying $300,000 to find out that we already did, that's a concern. When we have a shrinking budget, but yet we're the #1 employer in the county, it's a concern. So the first thing is to sit down as a board and collectively find out, number one, what is going on, and number two, how can we be more efficient with our tax dollars, and number three, with the tax dollars that are left, how are we going to appropriate that for our children to have the best education possible?
Mr. Soto?
Yes, well, Mr. Hanson, as a member of the board, what we're going to be tackling first is going to be something that the board is going to view as its priority. Assuming that priority is to find a superintendent, I advocate that we do a national search. I believe that we owe it to the public, we owe it to the parents, the community, we owe it to the school district, we owe it to Ms. Luciano, who, from what I know, is an excellent educator, that we bring in and we go through a process that is going to validate whoever is going to be hired for that job.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Hanson, you wanted to...
Yes, I
clarity?
wanted to go back to Mr. Soto and Mr. Benasco. I didn't get a clear answer, so I don't know if you're implying that you want to replace the superintendent as your first task.
All right, I'm gonna give a quick 30 seconds on the very first thing you're going to do. Mr. Soto, quick 30
Please
seconds.
be more specific.
Okay, the very first thing that I'm going to do is the board's business. And whatever the board sees that it is a priority and that should be resolved immediately. Now, since it's a hypothetical question, I believe that Mr. Benasco feels, and I think a lot of people feel, and they want an answer to, what we're going to do about the superintendent search. And that was what my answer was about.
That was not my question. But
All right, well, I'm going to give, in fairness, Mr. Benasco a quick 30 seconds, and Mr. Ramirez, I'm going to give him an extra time, just to clarify very clearly what specifically is the first thing you want to do when you're elected.
Is it okay, Mr. Horner, to ask Mr. Hansel to repeat the question, so maybe I
Sure.
can dissect it again?
yes, what will be your first goal or task if you are elected to the board? What will you personally concentrate? And I did get a clear answer from Mr. Ramirez about money. You are going to concentrate on money, but I didn't get a clear answer from you.
Now I have better understanding. One of my first tasks would be to focus and look at the program and services we have for special needs children in this county. I have a passion for autism, and I think we can always improve in the services we have for special needs in this school district. I know some of the other counties I've came across are doing some unique things, and more importantly, looking at some ways of educating the other students to understand special needs of other children, educating them in the process.
Mr. Ramirez, in the interest of fairness, since they each got an extra 30 seconds, if there's anything you wanted to elaborate on, I would give you an opportunity, or if you're comfortable, we'll move along.
I think I hit on my point.
Oh, excellent. Well, you're up for the next question. We're going to start, Mr. McBride. The question's from you.
What are your thoughts on the FCAT and how it's utilized?
Mr. Ramirez.
To be honest with you, it's a debauchery. I think the whole system needs to be readjusted. If you go back to the times of, I'll be lenient on my father, but I'll use myself as an example. There was no FCAT. The teachers, the school district, and the schools set a curriculum. And if that student met the requirements of that curriculum, they graduated. Now, if you want to use the FCAT as a system of analyzing what's working and what's not working without penalizing children who are getting straight A's, A's and B's, B's and C's in some issues, then let's do that. Another thing is that it's big business. Ever since it came into effect, the Pearson Group has bidded on this contract and has collected close to $300 million just to administer this test that is not working.
Thank you very much. Mr. Soto.
Well, the FCAT was designed, it was a test that was designed to measure how much a particular individual student learned about a particular subject during the school year. Now, somewhere along the line, someone on a higher pay grade than us here decided, hey, you know what, we could use this test to grade schools. We could use this test to grade a district. We could use this test to base how we compensate our teachers. Well, that's the problem. The problem is that the test wasn't designed for any of that. And in my opinion, as an epidemiologist and a statistician, and I understand numbers, I know how to make these tests, and I know how to validate them. I'm not even sure if they're good for what they were intended. The FCAT is going to be replaced pretty soon with the Common Core State Standards, something that I think people should learn about. And I think that as a school district, we should be putting our efforts to preparing and avoiding the same problems that we already had with the FCAT by getting right to the Common Core State Standards and being involved with the process of making the tests that are going to be measured at performance.
Mr. Bonasco.
You know, I have the opportunity to be a professor at Barry University at an adjunct level, and I agree with both of my fellow candidates because at the end of the day, I'm not an advocate of the FCAT. I think it's important to have assessment, exams, reviews throughout the school system because it's necessary. It's an opportunity to gauge the progression of the student. But I think there's some alternatives you can look at. Looking at the new set of standards they're going to be bringing out, and also looking at some alternative assessment measurements for the students, because I think it's brought a sense of, the word is drama and stress on the youth. I've seen it. It's touched me personally with my children and grandchildren. So I can tell you, what was designed for something good became something bad along the way, and there was some invested interest by other parties, and I feel that we can look at some other measurement tools.
Our next question from Ms. Falkowski.
What plan do you have to address our school buildings, whether building new schools or updating existing buildings, and how would you fund your plan?
Mr. Soto.
First of all, when we think about delivering education and improving the education of our community, of our children, we definitely need to consider where they go to school, where they spend their days, and where our employees work, and make sure that they're comfortable and that they're safe. So I believe in capital, and improvement and capital expenditures when it comes to schools and facilities, because that also brings pride to the community, pride to the neighborhood where the school is at, and even the children when they're going there, it brings in a different, atmosphere and aura. So I think that we have to look at the budget. The budget is what it is. We have to be smart with how we spend, and we have to make sure that that our facilities are being taken care of and that we continue to improve on that.
Mr. Bonasco.
Education is an investment, not just by the board members or the community leaders, but also I look at not just the taxpayers, but our business partners. There are a great deal of business partners in our community that give daily to different organizations, and we need to bridge some partnerships. Look at being very creative and looking at maybe consolidating certain courses or programs into certain schools where the enrollment might be low, and also look at looking at those private businesses, you'd be surprised if we think outside the box. We'll have some individuals who'll be willing to assist the school board in not only the maintenance of the buildings, but also look at the new construction, because it's important, like was said earlier, our community is based on that education component, and people will not move to this county if we do not have a solid educational system in the district. Folks will shy away.
Mr. Ramirez.
Now, just to clarify, your question was about building or improving the schools?
And
for our
how
children?
would you fund your plan?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, as I've repeatedly said, one of my main concerns is the budget and what we do with our hard-earned tax dollars here. As some of you may well know, over 55% of the budget goes, that comes to the school district is from our hard-earned money right here in Osceola County. I think, first of all, we have to do a little bit more due diligence with the companies that we do business with so that we don't have a reoccurrence of overspending or being overbilled for the construction projects that we have in the first place. I think we have to consider more, rather than building new schools, improving the schools that already exist. I'm a firm believer that it doesn't necessarily, although it enhances the possibility of someone learning that they have a brand-new facility. Ultimately, we're responsible for our own education, where we are, when we are, and how we are. As far as the money is concerned, let's be honest, I will not be arrogant enough to say that I have all the answers. But that's why we have teachers. That's why we have school administrators. That's why we have a school board. And collectively, we'll come up with the answers along with you, the citizens of Osceola County.
Mr. Hanson, next question's from you.
Yes. When Dr. Grego left or was forced to leave, depends on your point of view, the school board decided to do a major search for a new superintendent. But they aborted this plan and they offered the job to Superintendent Terry Andrews, who did not apply for it. Did you agree with the board's decision, or what will you have done different?
Mr. Bonasco.
Well, I can only tell you from my perspective, my opinion, that do we know what really went on? Probably not. But at the end of the day, the school board had to make a decision. They made a decision based on the facts and the information. I disagreed at the time because I think it brought unneeded, unnecessary negativity to the county, because once again, it gave the aura or the light of this county district when it comes to the school board system cannot seem to make a decision on their leadership for the school system. And it also gives that appearance of who would want to be part of this school district as a superintendent, because the possibility of your stability is not certain.
Mr. Ramirez.
Honestly, only the school board members truly know what's going on. We could only deal in hypothetical scenarios. I know we haven't been setting a great example for our community in the type of information and the type of things that were going on with the school board. I know if I was involved with the process, I would exercise a little bit of due diligence in hiring someone who did not even apply for the position, leaves some question for concern. So moving forward, I think we have a good person in position as the acting superintendent. She is part of this community, and I would say that first and foremost, she would be my leading choice because of that. And although, as Mr. Kelvin Soto said, we would lead a national search, sometimes we tend to look beyond our community when we have the resources right here. So I would hope that the first part of it would start within our community, see which eligible candidates we have
Mr.
here
Ramirez,
in
I'm going to have
Osceola
to
County.
cut you off. And Mr. Soto, your response.
Go ahead and repeat the question this time.
Yes, when Dr. Grego left, the school board decided to do a major search for a new superintendent, but they aborted this decision and they offered the job to Superintendent Terry Andrews. Did you agree with the board's decision, or what would you have done different?
Because I believe that this school district, the size of the school district, the number of employees, the budget, the number of students, it's of such a magnitude. I believe that we need to do a national search for a superintendent. So I do not agree with what happened in the process that they used to select Terry Andrews. Now, that doesn't mean that there were external circumstances which none of us know that might have made that a necessity. So just by me not agreeing doesn't mean that I don't have an opinion as to whether it was the right thing to do or not. But going forward, as a school board member, I believe that we need a national search. I think we needed a national search so that the community can have a chance to be involved, so that parents can have a chance to be involved, so that we have an opportunity to see what else, what other ideas, what other folks can bring to our educational system. Well, now, we may have a lot of great talent here, and I would encourage that great talent to step forward and also compete. But I think that we need that so that the community will know that we're selecting the best possible candidate for our school district.
And I'm going to let the panel know this is going to be our last 3 questions, so everybody's going to get one more. So we're going to start. Mr. McBride, questions from you.
What can the school district do to recruit and retain the best possible teachers?
Mr. Ramirez.
Well, first of all, we have to find a way, number one, to improve our salary situation. As I said before, maybe I jumped a little bit ahead of the gun, but we're 33rd out of 50 states. We're $6,000 underneath what the national average is. So that's the number one concern there. We don't have a chance to compete with other states or other countries, as I said before, because of salary issues. If we can get some committed individuals to come into Osceola County and provide our children with the education that they need, then maybe we stand a better chance. But as it stands right now, our number one concern is getting qualified teachers, being able to pay them an affordable wage, and most importantly, keep that money in the county. So find a way to keep them here, whether they rent an apartment or, more importantly, if they purchase a home, and keep the money circulating here in Osceola County for our children.
Mr. Soto.
Repeat the question, please.
What more can the school district do to recruit and retain the best possible teachers?
I believe that as a school board, what we need to do is to really motivate teachers. And the motivation comes from many different ways. It comes from making them feel that they're part of a very special organization, an organization that has a real goal, real plans, and real motivation to education, because that's what they got into the profession for. It's to educate. And if they come into our school district to teach, they want to make sure that this is a school district that believes in public education. In addition to adequate compensation, I think we need to provide the tools. I think that we need to provide, if there's some latest training or something out there in technology that they can use as a tool to educate, I think that we need to support that. I think we should find funding for that. And we could get creative as to how that funding could come. I'm sure there's a lot of private entities that would contribute. And finally, I think that we need to value and respect the dignity and the hard work of each and every one of our educators. Thank you.
Mr. Bonasco.
I think 2 things were already said earlier. Look at their salary ranges. Also appreciating teachers. But one of the things we all know that every teacher, every state employee was impacted this year when the governor changed the restructure of the retirement program. Some of the other counties, different entities in public safety compensated for that 1.6 or 2.5 loss. I think we really need to look at that because teachers do not make enough money as it is now. And also, I'm not an advocate of tying in school grades with the teacher's performance, because what is going on, I see it happening right now. Some of those great teachers who are in those schools where they have really challenged youth are leaving because their next opportunity to have a job might be impacted. The next rating, their next raise will be impacted because they're in schools that are in the district that often teachers do not want to teach. So we're running all the really good seasoned teachers off to the stable schools, and we need to really be across the board, level playing, so we can keep all the good teachers at every school of their choice because, like was said earlier, they chose the profession for the passion of what they do.
Ms. Valkowski, the next question's from you.
Do you see a need to promote or search out minority leadership for the schools, especially in our largely Hispanic-populated areas?
Mr. Soto.
I think that we need to recruit and retain the best quality and the best possible educators that we can find. Now, I'm sure that we're going to be able to recruit diverse diverse group from the best that are out there. And what we do is, we need to show, first of all, that we're going to support them, that we have a school district and a system that is focused with helping them be educators and educating our children. We have a large Hispanic section of students here, but we have other students that are not Hispanics. And our duty is to all of them, it's to the entire county. And I think that whatever ideas we come in, or whatever educator we find, so long as they're the top quality, they're going to serve all the students, and it's going to improve the education of each and every single one of them.
Mr. Benasco.
To answer the question, I feel we shouldn't have to go specifically recruiting any ethnicity. You know, I grew up in New York, I didn't see color, I saw people. And I think often we put ourselves in a box, because I've been fortunate to travel all over the state and work with different counties, Manatee County, Martin County, different school districts, and despite your population, it's going to shift. And we should focus not on the skin color of the individual, look at the delivery service. And it's all about the children and getting those teachers involved in your community, getting that community education organization involved, the teachers, the parents, the students, everyone in your community to make a difference. And I feel that regardless of who you are, what your ethnicity, if you qualify for the position, we need to give you the equal opportunity to apply, qualify, and obtain that post.
Mr. Ramirez.
I think ultimately our schools should be a reflection of our community. But on the same hand, we have to wait for those individuals who are willing to step up and become leaders. We can't expect anyone just because of their cultural background or their heritage to step up and be a representative. They have to want to step up and be a representative. So maybe the question should be, what do we do to get those people to step up? Do we disseminate more information out to the parents and the community to let them know what's going on? Do we use our community leaders as a go-between between the schools and the community to let them know what's going on? Come and get involved. Right now, this is a perfect example. We should have a full auditorium, but we don't. So it's up to us as leaders to let everyone know what's going on in our community, and then maybe we can have a reflection of the community. But to say that we should go out and get people, no, I'm sorry. You have to step up and want to be involved.
And our final question comes from Bill Hanson, Osceola Star.
Okay, the Florida Department of Education implemented higher academic standards for the 2011-2012 year. The new assessments just were released, and that measure K through 8 progress. So I want to clarify, K through 8 progress. The results show some decrease in Osceola schools from 19 to 48%. What will you do to improve these grades?
Mr. Benasco.
Well, one of the first things you have to do is bring the leadership, the teachers together, and look at a county-wide group of individual focus group, and look at where we fell short on, if we did, and what areas we need to concentrate on. Because at the end of the day, I think we, as administrators in any organization, we need to go where the rubber meets the road. Get with those teachers. Maybe they need some more assistance, some more guidance, some more tools, and really see what's going on, because at the end of the day, numbers can often be deceiving as well. And I think it's an opportunity to bring some various educators in our school system together, brainstorm, and see where we can improve, because ultimately we want to have a better product and help the student in the system.
Mr. Ramirez.
Repeat the question for me, please.
Yes, the Florida Department of Education implemented higher academic standards for the 2011-2012 year. In the new assessment just released that measures students K through 8 towards meeting these standards, a 19 to 48% of Osceola schools showed a decrease in some of their school grades. What will you do to improve these grades?
Well, first of all, we have to sit down as a community with our administration, with our teachers, and find out what's working and what's not working. Second of all, we have to understand how the information is disseminated to the community. If you're referencing specifically to the FCAT,
No, I'm referencing a press.
All right, we're going to,
a press
Mr. Hanson,
release.
Mr. Hanson, I'm going to cut you off because we're not going to do a dialogue. I'm going to give Ms. Lewis, I'm going to give him a little more 30 seconds on the clock since I interrupted him. If you'd finish the answer to the question.
Just one
Mr. Hanson,
sentence.
Mr. Hanson,
All right.
we're going to finish the question. We're going to
Okay.
conclude the question part. Mr. Ramirez, you have 30 seconds to finish your answer.
work together with our teachers and administration to find out what's working and what's not working, so that way our children have a better understanding of what is being asked of them. I don't think we're doing an effective job of that at the present moment in time. So with higher standards being implemented on our school children, they have to have a full understanding of what's going on, or else.
Mr. Soto,
I'm going to ask the question be repeated.
for the third time, what did
Yeah,
you
well,
repeat the
there's a lot of
question,
things
Mr.
going
Hanson?
on.
Maybe you could consolidate it down so the question is shorter than the answer.
Okay, the Department of Education just released some grades, and schools in Osceola County, K through 8, had some decrease in their grades from 19 to 48%. What will you do to improve these grades? And this information was sent to me by the school district of Osceola County, so I'm not basing myself on anybody else's information.
Mr. Soto?
All right, so because the State Department of Education implemented higher standards, these test results show that 19 to 48 decrease in student achievement
Between on K through 8.
from K through 8. All right. Your question is asking me is how should I, as a school board member, react to this data? Well, first of all, I'm not in the position to really be a school board member to be reactionary. I want to be proactionary. Okay, I want to go ahead and look ahead, see what we can do to improve our education, see, specifically with the Common Core state standards that are going to be implemented in 2014, and be involved with how the measurements and the tests and all the metrics are going to be implemented and produced. I can do that. I can do that because I am a statistician, I'm an epidemiologist. I got over 16 years of post-high school education. Okay, so I'm sure that we're going to learn our lessons from the mistakes that led to that result, because I believe that's a mistake, and that we're going to go ahead and start teaching with the Common Core state standards, and we're going to be testing them appropriately. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank our panel for their great questions, and we're going to move on to the final statements from our candidates. They're going to have 30 seconds each, and we're going to begin with Mr. Ramirez.
Well, I thank you for your time today. I hope, number one, to see you all August 14th. As we well know, sometimes primary elections are not visited as much as general elections. But as your school board member, I plan to fight for you. I plan to take your tax dollars and make sure that we are responsible with that money. And number two, provide our children with a high level of education here in Osceola County. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Mr. Soto.
I think that that you had an opportunity to, for the first time, this is the first time that you've seen us all three together. You see that we have probably very different outlooks and we would approach this job very differently. I will tell you that my approach is one that follows the education that I have as an educator, as a scientist, as a lawyer, analyzing, looking at all the data, looking at both sides of every decision that needs to be made, and then looking at what would be the consequences long term. And always, always with the focus of improving the education of our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Bonasco.
As I said earlier, education is an investment. Look forward to your support on August 14th. As I look at this as an opportunity to continue to serve this community as I have and continue to be on several boards. I have teachers in my family. My late mother, who passed away a year ago, was a teacher as well. Education runs in my family, public service. I'm committed. Not only am I doing this for my family, but I'm running for everyone in this county to make it a better place when it comes to the education field, and more important, our next future leaders of America, because we have an obligation to that.
It takes a lot of courage to throw your hat in the ring, and we have three outstanding candidates. Let's give them all a big round of applause. This was certainly a very substantive debate, and I really appreciate the candidates' time. I really appreciate the panel being here. And most importantly, I want to appreciate my sponsors that helped make this event possible, our friends at Kissimmee Utility Authority, the Osceola Classroom Education Association, Valencia College, and Access Osceola. Thank you all for being here, and good evening.
Thank you.